Hello, hello. When you envision the teen years and what those will be like, what do you envision those teen years will be like with your current tween? There's so many memes depicting the horror of the teen years. You get sympathy wherever you go. Whenever I tell people I have 3 teenage daughters, you get the sympathy. When I was when they were all in their tweens, we were heading towards those teen years, and I told people how old my kids were. I got all this sympathy because we were speeding towards these teen years, and they just thought, oh my goodness, it's going to be awful. It's as if you're gearing up to run the gauntlet, which perhaps is not a bad way to think about it. If that only meant that it was something you were preparing for rather than something you'd have to endure. So, what if instead of planning to endure the teen years, you could teach your tween the skills that would make those teenage years easier? Would it be worth the effort? Well, today I'm going to share 3 core skills that will do just that. We're just going to scratch the surface, but we're going to talk about what these core skills are. And if you intentionally teach your tween, so tweens, just to clarify, so we're starting at around age 9, and sometimes we can squeak all the way over to 14, that early teen period. So if you intentionally teach your tween these skills, they can help you navigate those teen years with less stress. I'm Marina Gabor, founder of Tween Talk, empowering moms to raise independent kids. If you aren't part of that Facebook community yet, please feel free to join. If you are a mom of tweens, you are welcome. And also, we have the Life Skills Club opening September 8th. Super excited about this. If you need to know exactly how you can be a founding member, forget this. $3 a month, less than a coffee every month. Going to help your kid develop those skills that are going to make it easier in the teen years. Go to lifeskills.club, join the club, then come back and watch the rest of this video so you can get an overview of what those skills are and how you can help your tween at home. So I've been working with tweens in different settings almost since the day I left my tween years behind. And what is proven over and over, time and time again, is that tweens are receptive to learning new skills that help them become independent. So they want to be independent, and they're eager to learn those skills that are going to help them bust free and be more independent. It's what they want most. They're open to hearing what we have to say. So that's why I'm opening up this Life Skills Club to bring those tweens together to learn those core life skills in a fun way and then practice them at home. So moms, I know you have a ton of stuff on your plate. And just like you can get your kid to take piano lessons, they can join the Life Skills Club. And just like piano lessons, they'll have a lesson, be shown how to practice. And then, just like piano lessons, they'll get instructions how to practice that new skill at home. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's dive into those 3 critical skills your tween needs to know to build a solid foundation for those teen years and beyond. So we're going to talk about the 3 core skills that are part of this empowerment matrix: communication, organization, and critical thinking. And you'll see how we use this empowerment matrix to teach these core life skills. And I'm going to share with you how developing these skills will also help your tween develop resilience, curiosity, empathy. These are characteristics and character traits that we want our kids to develop. But before we start, here's a quick question. When was the last time your tween asked a curiosity-driven question. When was the last time your tween asked a curiosity-driven question? Not just, Mom, where's the cereal? Or can I go to my friend's place? But a question that demonstrated that they wanted to expand their knowledge, that they were thinking about something, mulling it over, they didn't have the answer, and they wanted to find out. Now, perhaps in the stream of life and answering all sorts of important questions relating to daily life, their question got lost. That moment of curiosity passed. No judgment at all. Just to be clear, as I was working on my notes for this session, I was reflecting on my own curiosity. When did I last ask a curiosity-driven question? Well, to be fair, I've been asking a lot lately. But if it's been a while, why did the wonder stop? When did that wondering stop? Like, think about it for yourself. We're trying to instill this characteristic in our kids, but when did we lose the wonder? When did we stop asking questions, being curiosity-driven? Just something to put in the back of your mind there. So let's dive in, 3 core skills, and then we'll zoom out and tie them to those softer skills, resilience, curiosity, and empathy. Because those character traits, they lead to overall well-being and contentment. So our first core skill, communication. And communication touches so many areas: healthy relationships, academic success, empathy and emotional intelligence, all of these things, such deep topics. We're just going to scratch the surface here and saying, how are we teaching our kids these communication skills? One thing that I know we're going to be teaching is active listening. Listening is hard. I find active listening super hard. Like, it has to be intentional. But I realized that as soon as I acknowledged that I was weak in this area, it made it okay not to be perfect. I could try, I could be a work in progress. It's made me more aware. And I've spent time actively figuring out how to be a better active listener. And the same is true with our tweens. As we are saying, hey, you need to listen. Well, what does that even mean? How do they become an active listener? It's not just something we learn just out of the air and then all of a sudden we're an adult and we know this. Otherwise, I would have been great at this already. I've been an adult for a long time, right? So we need to actively teach, intentionally teach this skill about active listening. So now there's a few things that I taught my daughters about active listening. I'm going to share those things in that Life Skills Club. We're going to practice it. It's part of how we do things. We'll get in the habit and that will transfer over, and they'll be practicing that at home with you and with their siblings, with their friends. But it's a skill that it's hard to check a box and say, yes, done. Active listening, learned. It's more something that you reflect on, and it's got this compound effect. So it's hard to see it day by day by day by day. But if you look back and you go, oh, yeah, see how difficult that relationship was before? Oh, now we're definitely listening better, and that relationship is better. The relationship will be better. There'll be less conflict because there'll be better listening. So here's a takeaway for you. A simple way you can start building this communication skill, the skill of communication, this core skill, is by practicing active listening and helping your tween practice active listening. Secondly, organization. Why is organization a core life skill and part of this empowerment matrix? Well, for one, it really plays into academic success. I don't know anybody who's not organized in some fashion that has achieved some sort of academic success. It reduces stress and increases your well-being. Think about what happens when you start getting a little organized. Responsibility and independence. It plays into this. Being organized is part of taking on more responsibility, of becoming more independent. And that's how we can frame this when we're talking to our tweens is, hey, you want to take on more responsibility? Excellent. Getting organized, getting your stuff together, that's one way to do that. So now, even if you are homeschooling, you're not doing formal tests or assignments, you still have a standard that you're striving for. Something you say, this is the bar, this is what we're calling success. Whatever that looks like, it doesn't really matter. Something you are going for. And you need to be organized so you can get there, so you can achieve it. Now, I remember when we first started homeschooling, my daughters were pretty young. As we went into the tween years, I started buying planners for them and randomly trying to get them to use them. I thought, well, if I buy a planner, they'll use it. And that didn't work out so well. Then I realized, I actually need to teach them how to use a planner. And then I realized, you know what? Not everybody uses a planner the same way, and that's okay. So then you figure out, how does each kid work and how do they use a planner? The whole point of the planner isn't to use the planner. The whole point of the planner is to use it to get something done, to achieve an outcome. So different kids are going to use that in different ways. So when your tween is able to get themselves organized, there's less pressure on you to remember everything for everyone in your family. It takes some of this load off, reduces some decision fatigue, and you'll be checking on high-level things instead of every single detail, because your tween is starting to take on those responsibilities for being organized. Now, here's the takeaway. Here's something you can do right now to start getting your tween organized. Get them to write their big commitments on your family calendar. Now, this is assuming that you have a family calendar. We've had one of those, I think it's like Mom's World, the big calendars with the big squares on our fridge since forever. And over time, then I slowly started transferring some of the responsibility for writing tasks or writing commitments onto that calendar. So if your tween has piano lessons, say Friday at 2:00, give them the responsibility of writing that on the calendar. It's their piano lesson. It is their responsibility, even though you're driving. But we're practicing this getting organized, and this is a good first step towards that. And they'll start being a little more time conscious. Then they'll be like, oh, there's a lot of things going on Friday. Wow. Or when they ask to do something, Friday afternoon, then you say, well, go look at the calendar. What's going on? And they'll say, oh, right, I have a piano lesson at that time. That's not going to work. And they'll start to make those connections. It's not going to be overnight. It's a process. And this is a step and a simple step that you can take to get moving forward in that way. Finally, we have critical thinking. Critical thinking is such a big topic and plays into so many things. Navigating information, problem solving, preparing for the future. Problem solving, let's think about academics. So, we're getting ourselves organized. That's great. We're active listening. That's great. Another thing, we can use problem solving skills to think about, is a source reliable or not? As they're entering those tween years and moving through, they are going to be using more and more different sources to find information. You're not going to have time, energy, resources, whatever, to hover over them and reread or pre-read everything they're going to read. Look at every website they're going to look at, read all of the stuff. You just won't have time. So, critical thinking skills are essential. Essential. They need to know how to discern, is a source reliable? Empower them to say, oh, this isn't aligning with my worldview. I'm not going to use this. Or this is really weird. This isn't what we believe. Or this is what we believe, and I'm going to use this source. Or, wow, this is a really credible source, and I know that because of these things. So they'll start to be able to discern and distinguish what is a reliable source, what can they use, what can they learn from, and not be swayed by everything just because it's online or just because it's in print. So the more they learn, the easier it is to trust them to do research on their own if they're being discerning. So we're talking about things that they're learning. They're going and doing some research. See, this is where communication ties in, which is why this is sort of a matrix. It all fits together. Then you have open communication. So you're talking about, well, what are you learning? Oh, okay. So let's talk through that. Do we think that is true just because it's written there? And the more they're able to discern, the easier it is to be able to trust them to do research on their own, knowing that they're not going to be swayed by everything they read or everything they hear, everything they see. So you want a child that is curious, independent, and a responsible thinker. And let's be real. If you're homeschooling, even if you're not homeschooling, even if your kid is bringing home homework, you want them to be able to do it on their own. If they're homeschooling, you might have other kids that you're also homeschooling, and you want to be able to say, hey, you're responsible for this. This needs to be done by this time, and know that they can handle doing that assignment. So you want a child that's curious. They're going to ask questions. They're going to be independent. They're going to be a responsible thinker. And they can make well-informed decisions and navigate the world effectively. Now, when we're using this empowerment matrix, communication, organization, critical thinking, they are going to develop these other skills, resilience. So as they're developing these critical thinking skills, they realize, hey, I can test a theory, I can be wrong, but that doesn't mean that I'm beaten down. I can try again. I can try another thing. Their curiosity comes back to critical thinking again. They go, oh, well, what about this? And then they look for information and they figure out, is this source credible or not? They try to answer the question. That might lead to a better question that will get them to another answer. And on it goes. And then empathy. People think sometimes that tweens are just always me, which, to be fair, that is the stage that they're in. However, I have taught enough tweens and know from working with my daughters that you can help tweens be more empathetic. It requires communication. It involves a little bit of that critical thinking when you're asking, I wonder how that other person is feeling. And then how can I communicate to that person in a way that makes them feel cared for? So you can help your tween practice active listening, help them get organized, get them writing their stuff on the calendar, and help them ask better questions. This will lead to curiosity, empathy, resilience, things that we want for our tweens as well. Now, if all of that sounds great and you think, I don't know, I need some support, I am here to help. Guess what? This Life Skills Club, crazy founding rate, $3 a month. Yes, you heard it right, $3 a month. There's like 4 meetings a month that you can choose to attend. There's replays if you can't make it. There are resources. Mom, there's resources for you too. There's also a ton of reading and writing resources. I had another program in the past. I'm bringing all of that stuff in for your use so that we can empower our kids to be independent. So you can go to lifeskills.club, find all the details there, register as a founding member for only $3 a month. Doors open September 8th. And then that rate goes away, it goes up. So get in now, $3 a month, lifeskills.club. And if you have any questions, leave them below. I'm happy to answer them. And until next time, practice active listening, help your tween get organized, ask better questions, and we'll see you in the next one.